Today, welcome in to the Disney Rant. I'm going to start by just talking about a bunch of shit that's wrong with the Disney company, why I hate it, and I'm going to connect it to the fact that I'm from Orlando and I wish there wasn't a Disney World there. Imagine a world without Disney. Everywhere I go, that fucking mouse haunts me, and I had to get it off my chest. We're going to start with just the easy pickings. I'm going to just show you a couple of old racist clips from the 30s and 40s that happened to make it into Disney movies. I'm just going to let them speak for themselves. For example, this is from The Three Little Pigs. You know, that classic.
I'm the fuller brush man. I'm giving a example.
Now, if you've noticed, if you have a keen eye, something came on screen that's a bit offensive. Shout out Walt Disney for that one. And then this is a World War II cartoon that he drew of Donald Duck fighting the Japanese. We're starting off goofy, but we're gonna get into this clip in particular is just horrible. Like it's a minute long, and I'm just gonna listen to what is said. And just everything about it.
Oh, I beg my pardon. I bow my stomach at you, very reverent. That's all right. Happy cherry blossoms to you, please.
Oh, no. They made this. Do you know how much this must have cost to animate in the 40s? Animation was not easy back then.
All right, here he coming. Time to shooting now, please, I hope. No, wait, please. Japanese customs say, always shooting a man in the back, please. Oh, psycho.
That's all I need to show. You guys get the point, right? Walt there was not exactly fond of the Japanese. Oh, Walt. This is just something else. I figured I'd show you this one, too. It's just, they're doing blackface. There's Mickey. Oh, Mickey, what are you doing? Mickey? Or I think this is Minnie. Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, basically, Disney World has its own government. Did you know that? Did you know that in Central Florida, a part of the state has been given to a corporation, and they run it themselves? There is little to no state interference. There could be thousands of bodies beneath Disney Springs. Walt could have been on a massacre, and we have no idea. Because it wasn't on U.S. jurisdiction. Kind of. Technically. A little bit. It's fuzzy. But basically, like it says here, the Florida legislature granted the park extreme unilateral control over their land. I'm just going to read the article. In 1965, Walt Disney began buying land for a new theme park in Florida. The success of Disneyland, ew, why would you go to that one when there's, it's not even in Florida. Disney were unaware of who their client was, and shell companies were able to acquire 27,000 acres that make up Disney World for only $5 million. That land is worth probably $500 billion today. Are you shitting me? Yeah, a bargain even in 1965. Once the land was secured, the campaign for total control over the area began, as explained in this video from City Beautiful. Do I watch the City Beautiful video? I think I watched the City Beautiful video.
Walt Disney World is huge. It consists of 4 theme parks, 27 hotels with 21,000 rooms, over 30,000 parking spaces, shopping, water parks, and all of the backstage areas needed to run such a massive operation.
And did you know
Walt Disney World is set on 27,000 acres in Central Florida, roughly the size of the city of San Francisco. It's also
and also I want to say there is an entire network underground. That entire thing. Did you know all of the employees go to work via underground tunnels? Did you know that? Did you know that they don't just park and walk into work because it would break the immersion. There is an underground tunnel system throughout every fucking Disney park. It connects to the resorts too. There is a secret tunnel system more complex than the mythical Kennedy one under the... I just wanted to point that out. And it's not even a secret. But they're like, it's just for employees. We swear. Really? You built that tunnel system just for the employees? Really?
But what might be even more amazing, especially to a city planning nerd like me, is the special district that gives Disney unprecedented control over its land and municipal services.
Creek.
This video tells that story.
His lawyers in charge of purchasing the parcels had served in military intelligence during World War II and knew how to keep a secret. And they used several different companies, none with Disney's name, to acquire the properties.
All shell companies.
In the end, he was able to buy the entire area for a little more than
they
$5
bought
million.
a district of U.S. land.
Now, if you want a history of how the company designed and built Walt Disney World,
through shell
this is not the video for you.
And they
Instead,
own it to
I'm
this
going to
day.
focus on the legal and planning issues around establishing a large resort. Disney officials floated the idea that maybe Disney World property should be its own municipality. That way it could control its own planning and zoning and its own taxation.
What if we just weren't
the
under the city's
the
jurisdiction?
Of two
what if we could just tell them to go fuck themselves?
The only problem was that there wasn't a lot of precedent for a corporation founding a municipality.
No, there wasn't.
They would need
and to this day, another one hasn't
create
done that. What if Coca-Cola just said
now,
Atlanta's
districts
ours?
Were then and are now
Downtown
really
Orlando is now Cokeland.
Even though they fly under the radar for most people. Utility districts, irrigation districts, and park districts are all examples of special districts. They are usually established to administer one thing. Disney wanted to administer everything. The district. Disney officials recommended that they never build any homes on the property.
Of the U.S. or
so essentially, the company would have total control
so
over
what
the
do we have
special
to do to
district
get
board
everything
and wouldn't
we
have to
want?
appease residents of
you
the district.
make it work for us.
Now, Disney himself wanted to build his experimental prototype community of tomorrow, or Epcot. The original plan for Epcot was not the weird combination of dated technology pavilions.
Was that supposed to be what Epcot was meant to look like? Like this future metropolis? Have you been to Epcot? It's a golf ball with like teacups. They serve churros. Like, I won't knock Epcot. Epcot's a fun afternoon. It wasn't fucking Metropolis. What is this? Walt like literally he thought he was Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos before that was even a possible thing to be. He's like, I want to be the tech billionaire who builds his own super metropolis city in the middle of nowhere and runs his own private government. And it's, Walt, calm down. Freeze me, put my head in a freezer so we can do this in 60 years, okay?
Epcot? The original plan for Epcot was not the weird combination of dated technology pavilions and people-scale country dioramas it is today, but instead a new vision for urban living that would be the home to real people. So how did they solve this problem? When the state legislature created the special district in 1967,
this man was insane.
Dubbed the Reedy Creek Improvement District,
there it is.
They granted voting rights to landowners.
Yeah, I love that the state legislator was just like, okay. They came to him with this list of demands of we want our own specialty district that does the task of 40 other specialty districts overlapping. We also want to control the voting in that district, and we also and the state was like, okay, how much you paying? Oh, we paying a lot.
Powers included
cool.
Land reclamation, issuance of bonds, land use, and building regulations. The company was successful in getting these powers from the legislature for a few reasons. First, Florida was eager to have Disney in the state. Tourists back then flocked to Florida's beaches, and now Disney was giving Central Florida a massive economic engine. Second, Walt Disney died in 1966, and he was a beloved figure at the time.
He is alive to this
likely
day.
added some sentimentality to
He is
a
cyborg.
And finally,
his
at the
brain
time,
persists
the company was still
in a
committed to people
mechanical
living
body,
in Epcot.
living
The state
flesh
wanted to
over
be
metal
home to a new
endoskeleton.
In addition to the special district, the state legislature approved 2 new cities within the district. The city of Reedy Creek and the city of Bay Lake.
Yeah, they created the Reedy Creek Improvement District, and then they named the area within it a new city, and they're like, this is Disney Town, Reedy Creek. We own this. This is our town. I love that so much. It's just, to this day, that's just how it is. A company came into town and said, actually, it's our town, and we're going to tell you what it's called. It's like, wait, no, we already lived here. No, you don't. You live in Bay Lake.
State legislature established the 2 cities. They were able to do pretty much the same things the district was. I say pretty much because there were a few additional powers granted to the cities.
Because
They
it's an
include
actual
the authority
city.
to build and maintain healthcare facilities, the authority to
not just
provide
a
police
specialty
services,
district.
authority
Yeah.
to regulate the sale of alcohol.
Yeah, Disney has
and
its own
authority to
police force. Did
establish
you
and
know
operate
that?
A municipal
Did you
court.
did you know Disney has a standing military? Now, they don't call it that, but what else do you call a company with thousands of armed police officers at any given moment? That's a standing army. I'm sorry, but they are one of the few companies with a standing army, and it is contracted by the U.S. government. It is baffling how Disney has just finagled itself into this position of like mob rule over Central Florida.
Basically, Disney can issue itself a liquor license when it sets up a new restaurant. Furthermore, the
It
state
can do that.
legislature
Yeah, it
allowed the
issues
city to
itself its
provide these
licenses,
services to
so it's
nearby
like I don't need to ask
municipalities,
anyone for
which, of
permission
course,
to do
included
anything.
the Reedy Creek. And the Disney Corporation gets to fulfill Walt Disney's vision of a resort built with total corporate control. The company
Yeah, that's horrifying. God, is that really meant to be what Epcot was? Because that is not what Epcot looks like. Like, even a little bit. All right, let's just keep reading the article. Also, by the way, if you do Disney in chat, if you support my campaign for president in 2032, I will guarantee the execution of Bob Iger, as well as all who share the Disney surname. Down with the oligarchy. Anyway, let's keep reading the article. But yeah, basically they petitioned to have this district built, and it's just special, the specialty district, and they paid for it through shell companies, which worked somehow. The district, including the two cities inside of it, Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista, gave the corporation an unprecedented level of control. The powers granted are far-reaching. For example, Disney can issue their own liquor license to themselves. They largely do not use surrounding counties' infrastructure, instead building their own water, fire departments, transportation, and emergency services. They're like soft seceding from the United States. Do you know what I mean? Like, they have not once said, we don't want to be a part of the United States. But in every possible way, they're like separating themselves to be fully autonomous, where they don't have to rely on being within American borders. And that's... I think they're going to be the first geopolitically independent corporation. And I don't know how I feel about that. Disney World is what it looks like if you give a corporation full control over an area the size of San Francisco. 14% of its yearly earnings come from the park. And like it said in the video, they don't pay land taxes. Or they run it's their town. It's harder to quantify what else the park has done in terms of environmental impact and loss of taxes for surrounding counties and state. Devastating in both regards. The amount of shit that has been thrown into Central Florida just because Disney's there. Like, I think at any given time, more than half of the people in the city don't live there. They're visiting. So that's always great. Thanks, Disney. I have a similar article, but I really wanted to bring this one up because of the picture they used. Is it just me, or does he look... This looks like a statue of Lukashenko. This looks... This looks like an Eastern European, like, fucking capital. This looks like a dictator statue in front of his castle. And the title of the article is fucking... The Iron Grip of the Magic Kingdom. Do we live in a satire? The fact that this is real. I have seen this statue in real life. Yeah. Anyway. This one is about a different... It's a more recent bill that was passed, I think, just a month ago. Yeah, I want to say the bill was about... like social media, like Twitter. They can't ban, like, one, political figures, or two, people, like, if you own a theme park, that's how much power they have in Florida. They have been given the same as a fucking governor by the governor. He says, you know what? If you own a theme park or you're the CEO of a theme park, I really don't think you should be subject to any level of censorship. And I don't know. I'm going to read the article, but it was Florida Senate Bill 7072 aims to prevent major social media platforms from deplatforming users. So basically, if you're the CEO of Disney or the president, you can't get banned from Twitter. It kind of makes sense for like a political figure, right? Unless they're like directly inspiring violence or something crazy. But owner of a theme park? Since when are they powerful magnates? I don't know. The law has been criticized, who argue that the policy is mostly performative. So the theme park carve-out was purposefully added to the bill through an amendment by Florida Senator Ray Rodriguez as the second largest fundraiser in the Florida Senate, because Disney and Universal are the two biggest lobbyist groups in Florida. Like, we don't have the NRA or whatever else that you boring states have. No, we have theme park lobbyists. We have the Mickey Mouse Mafia. But yeah, basically, I just love the title and picture this. The Iron Grip of the Magic. He looks like fucking Lukashenko or Putin. This looks like a dictator statue. It's so good. I love that that's real. That's in the middle of the Magic Kingdom. God, Walt was a madman. You got all the ESPN holdings here. You got all the Discovery. You got the Nat Geo, Music Group, Walt Disney, the theme parks, the Reedy Creek Improvement District, a literal city and specialty district in Florida. You have all of Marvel Studios, you have Lucasfilms, you have all these niche fucking... See, the funny thing is Lucasfilms and Marvel are both just dots on this fucking... Alright, I found a corporate rap sheet that was prepared on Walt Disney. So that's pretty... I figured I'd read through this and see what they've uncovered as official scandals throughout their history, you know what I mean? How long? It's not that long. You want to just get the dramatic effect. Over nearly a century, Disney has grown from a small animated cartoon producer into a massive media and entertainment conglomerate with some of the world's most famous brands. It controls several movie studios, a major U.S. television network, leading cable television channels, theme parks in the U.S., France, Japan, and China, a cruise line, hotels and resorts, a book publisher, and more. Supplier sweatshop controversies. That sounds fun, right? A January 1996 report published by the National Labor Committee, now the Institute for Global Labor and Human Rights, alleged that clothing contractors in Haiti producing Mickey Mouse and Pocahontas pajamas for U.S. companies under license with Disney were in some cases paying as little as 12 cents an hour, below the minimum wage in that country. I mean, isn't it like in every country? The report contrasted that figure to the $97,600 per hour it calculated that Disney CEO Michael Eisner, back when it was Eisner, was receiving salary, incentive pay, and stock options. Can we just talk about the fact that the Disney CEO was receiving $100,000 an hour? An hour. Meanwhile, kids making Mickey Mouse shirts were making 12 cents a hour. In a follow-up report, the group found that contractors had raised wages to the legal minimum of about 28 cents an hour. Very nice of them, but said this still left workers living on the edge of misery. Yeah, especially since they were often shortchanged by employers. Okay, the report describes the shock a group of workers expressed when they were told that one of the Pocahontas garments sold in the United States for $10.95. Or $10.97, equivalent to nearly 5 days of their wages. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine you hear one of the items that you make sells for 5 days of your wages. Kernigan charged that workers in Dhaka, making garments for a US-based Disney licensee, were working up to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and were being paid the equivalent of 8 to 19 cents an hour. So yeah, Disney merchandise is made in a sweatshop while the CEO makes $100,000 an hour. I don't know how much more of that I want to read. There's other labor issues. In his 10-K filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Disney stated that a significant number of employees in various of our businesses are covered by collective bargaining agreements. Walt Disney was not happy when the union organizing wave of the 30s reached his film studio. He wasn't, was he? Although Disney's animators were relatively well treated, there was discontent over inequities in pay rates among staff members. Many of the animators joined the recently created Screen Cartoonists Guild, which demanded union recognition. Walt Disney refused. The guild called a strike that ended after 5 weeks when Disney agreed to sign. In 2008, they pressured members to accept substantial increases in their healthcare costs. They refused, and the workers carried out an extended pressure campaign against the company, including a hunger strike, before resolving in late... In 2008, a bunch of workers at Disneyland were told, your healthcare costs are, like, gonna go up, like a lot. And they're like, hey, no, we don't want to pay more, actually. You said they were guaranteed. And it wasn't resolved for 3 years? 2011? I never heard about that. Wait, here's another thing I want to point out. I only ever heard negative news about Disney World from, like, relatives in other states. Like, my grandma in Colorado would, like, call my mom and be like, did you hear about the kid that got eaten by a gator at Disney Springs, which is like 4 miles from my house? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear about a kid that got eaten at Disney, actually. And she's like, well, I saw it on the news today. It was all over cable. There was a kid eaten at Disney. And I'm like, I haven't heard it anywhere on any news here. No one has. You know why? Because Disney censors the media. They own all media in Central Florida. If you turn on just cable news in Orlando, you will never hear anything bad about Disney World. That's a fact. It's like the CIA at ABC. You will not hear anything negative that they don't want you to hear. They filter the information. I had to point that out. So basically, when they bought ABC, Disney was like, okay, we don't like how you have unions and workers' rights. And ABC was like, no, you're going to keep all the benefits we have, if not add some. And they just, like, almost refused to join Disney. Okay, that's fun. Domestic sweatshops? Disney's problems with suppliers who violate labor standards have sometimes occurred in the United States. For example, in 2001, federal and state investigators found that a Disney supplier in California was violating minimum wage, overtime, industrial homework, and child labor laws. After the company went out of business, Disney agreed to pay $903,000 into a fund to cover back wages for the workers whose rights had been violated. I'm sorry, you did that in California? Y'all hired kids and paid under the wage. Here? They're shameless. Workplace safety. Disney's theme parks can be a dangerous place to work. Guarantee you they don't pay hazard pay. Over the years, Disneyland and Disney World have been cited numerous times by federal and state agencies for violations of safety rules. For example, in 2004, OSHA found that Disney was not enforcing its own safety regulations when a costume worker at Disney World was killed in an accident involving a float. In 2008, OSHA fined Disney $21,500 for 5 safety violations linked to a fatal employee accident. You're telling me they killed an employee and all they had to do was pay $20,000 in punitive damages? A lot of this I didn't know. That's nothing. They got a slap on the wrist. They faced no consequences. There were 3 employee deaths at Disney World during the summer of 2009. And for those, it was a $44,000 punitive fine. Oh, wow. The amount was later reduced to $35,000 too. It was from a monorail crash. Didn't we say earlier that they're the ones that licensed the monorail as safe transportation and the state wouldn't do it? Great. $234 down to $82. Nice. It just doesn't end. Environmental issues. In the late 80s and early 90s, Disney was involved in several significant environmental controversies. In 1988, the Florida Department of Environmental Regulation, currently being slashed, that's why we had a lot of red algae the past few years. Our state is dying. Of sloppiness in its handling of hazardous waste at Disney World, and proposed fines of about nothing for them because they're $1 trillion company. 2 years later, the EPA announced that Disney would pay a fine of $375 grand. What is happening? Also in 1990, Disney agreed to pay for polluting Reedy Creek. Yeah, they did do that. Reedy Creek was probably blue in the 70s. I can tell you it's not now. In 2004, Greenpeace issued a report documenting that Disney brand children wear sold in 19 countries contained hazardous chemicals, apparently linked to the use of PVC plastisol techniques to print. Okay. Let's go Disney. Also, let's talk about how abused all of the child actors on Disney TV are, or like every child Disney star is horribly traumatized. Oh my god. Well, that's the corporate rap sheet on Disney. That was interesting, huh? The law was making an exception to where you can't ban politicians unjustly from like Twitter or whatever. And Florida senators and governor made it very sure that there was an exception for theme park owners so that their favorite lobbyists, Universal and Disney, can be ever more powerful, of course. They haven't quite reached God status yet, you know, so not enough. At the end of the day, you got to think about this. Disney is an awful company that underpays its employees and is notorious for using child slavery abroad. Is just a terrible, terrible company ran by terrible people. Was founded by a racist and madman, and to this day has a golden statue of him and that fucking mouse in front of that magic-ass castle. As a Floridian, all I want to do is to go somewhere on Earth that has never seen Mickey Mouse. I want to meet a person that doesn't know what that shape is. For the love of God, I want to fly somewhere and not see Disney merchandise. But that's impossible. I could go anywhere on Earth. I've barely left the United States. Mexico, Canada, everywhere I've gone there's been Mickey Mouse. I would assume it's all over this fucking planet, like a plague, like a disease. If I went to the southern tip of Argentina, you know what I would find? Mickey fucking Mouse. You know what would happen if I went to eastern Siberia? I would find Mickey fucking Mouse. I would find a Mickey Mouse shirt on some Mongolian kid. You know what I would find if I went to North Korea? I would find Kim Jong-un's kid playing with a Mickey Mouse doll. You know what I would see if I go to England? I would see Mickey fucking Mouse in the mall at London. Mickey Mouse is fucking inescapable. I hate Walt Disney. That man is a fucking villain. So what fascinates me is that there are grown-ass adults whose lives revolve around fucking Disney, who have tattoos on their skin of Mickey Mouse, Disney adults terrify me. I don't get them. I have spent my life running from Disney, and these people are in love with it. I don't get it. They scare me. So I figured I would just, I saw this earlier, and honestly, it's such a good title I have to read it. Disney adults are the most terrifying people on the planet, and they need to be stopped. Picture the scene. You're sound asleep in bed, dreaming away. When you start to hear the opening notes of When You Wish Upon a Star, you wake up, disoriented. Someone's broken in. Is this the end? You wonder. You look towards the other side of the room, expecting to meet your maker, but at the end your bed stands not a monster or a knife-wielding murderer, but something far worse. Framed by the light creeping through your door is a grown woman and her boyfriend. She is wearing a blonde wig and a sparkly blue dress. He's got a cowboy hat on. And Andy written on the underside of his right boot. You scream, hoping you're still dreaming, but this is the reality. Seemingly overnight, stunted adults have become really unironically into Disney, and it's horrifying. Whoever wrote this, thank you. A lot has been said about millennials' inability to adjust their media consumption habits as we've grown up. So content are we to bathe in the warm, nostalgic paddling pool of... This guy, wrote a dissertation on how he hates... Here, just this paragraph. It's one thing to wear a Topshop jumper with Donald Duck on it like it's still 2010, but imagine getting a Disney tattoo. Making the call that you will one day die and be buried with a Mickey Mouse head or a quote from Lilo and Stitch somewhere on your body. It gets worse from there. Look at Sienese from Love Island out here with a Disney-themed birthday party in her 20s. Jesus H. Christ. Now, Tom Haynes here makes some wonderful points. I have to say. These people are horrifying. When I go to Disney with I was with friends in high school. We would go to Disney and I'm already over it. And I'm 16. I'm just coming here with friends to I don't know, grab a snack somewhere and maybe see a movie. And I would see a 45-year-old man with his wife. Both of them, head to toe. Ears on. Disney shirt, with a goofy on it. Disney-themed pants. Disney shoes. They would have a Disney bag. They would have 3 shopping bags in hand for new things that they got that day. And they're all going back to the resort that night. These people terrify me. They have a mental illness and it needs curing before I just get rid of them. I hate... All right. I guess we should... There isn't an Urban Dictionary definition of Disney adult. A millennial adult, with or without kids, that cannot stop talking about Disney, including the movies and the parks. Even if they do have kids, they are still way more obsessed with it than their kid ever would be. They probably engage in casual Disney bounding and visit the theme parks at least once a year. They are obsessed with everything Disney and probably have a Mickey Mouse bumper sticker and or tattoo. One of the most terrifyingly intense people you will ever encounter. Now, Urban Dictionaries, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this website, but that isn't a bad definition. Disney bounding, that is something where people spend hundreds, if not thousands, of hard-earned dollars to go to Disney every year as if it is a fucking pilgrimage to the Mecca. I do not understand these people. Do you know who Walt Disney was? He was a guy that ran a company and was kind of racist and died. Why do you care about the fucking mouse so much? You know what I mean? Just buy a churro and go home. Anyway. You can look at some images of these fantastic individuals, of course. Just look at this. You look like you're having a good time, I guess, but I don't know. Do you have hobbies, friends, a job? How is your life so dedicated to Disney? To where, let me find I don't know, this one's kind of just a trip to Disney, I guess. This one's bad. This one's awful. Okay. Yeah, they both have hats on, and they're matching with the full thing. You can tell they have the fucking lanyard with the pins on them and everything. They have matching Disney masks even. Oh, God, these people. That's what I'm talking about. They have spent weeks prepping this trip, if not months or years. They have spent at least an entire day planning just that outfit. They have spent maybe a decade collecting those pins on that fucking lanyard. Oh, this is from when I went in 2008 and we went on the Mine Trail. This is from 2011 when we went on that new Star Wars ride. And I can't wrap my head around these people. You know what I mean? In a way, I envy them. They seem happier than I ever physically could be. But how? Why? What is it? Are you okay? Is this an illness? Do you need help? Is this Stockholm Syndrome? Anyway, I think that's it for the Disney rant. Thanks for joining me. I did have an interesting time. What did we cover today? We covered a lot. Disney is racist. They use child labor and slavery, and they're not great, and they pollute the environment, and they have unilateral control over Central Florida in a way that is horrifying for a private corporation, and they have a standing military, technically. At the end of the day, all shall hail our overlords at the Walt Disney Corporation, and when they do finally thaw out Walt and put him onto his metal endoskeleton with living flesh, of course, and he once again walks the earth for another 1,000 years as our deity, remember this: Walt Disney is our god.